She almost lost her fiancé to another woman. What really happened? Come with me, guys. Let's find out together. Hey, guys. Today, we bring you another banger that will keep you at the edge of your seat. But before we dive in, I'm sure you need something to cool down with. So why don't you grab a snack and relax as you watch this amazing masterpiece? And of course, don't forget to subscribe for more captivating movies from us. The story kicks off with a young lady named Tracy, who went to wake her fiancé Desmond. They chatted for a while before she went out to set the table while Desmond freshened up. Moments later, she came out and they both sat down to have breakfast while chatting happily. Moving forward, we meet a beautiful young lady named Elizabeth, who owns a canteen where people come to eat her delicious food. A young man known as Boy Yo-Yo was there eating and still asking for more, even though he hadn't paid for what he already ate. This made Elizabeth upset. She called out to her assistant, Eno, warning her never to serve him again whenever he comes around. Moments later, Boy Yo-Yo returned with flowers, singing and professing his love for Elizabeth. But Elizabeth, who knew he was never serious, told him to leave her shop immediately. The next day, Desmond got ready to go to work. He came out for breakfast, but found the same bread and egg again. He was disappointed because he wanted something else, a real homemade meal. He went to work without eating. Later that day, after work, Desmond was tired and hungry. He spoke to his friend about it and explained how he missed real food. Thankfully, his friend suggested a canteen, although he had never been there before. They both decided to try it out. When they arrived, Elizabeth immediately developed a crush on Desmond. She attended to them politely, making sure they were comfortable. Desmond ordered white rice and fried fish pepper soup, and he really enjoyed it. When it was time to pay, the money he transferred didn't reflect immediately. So Elizabeth collected his phone number, just in case she didn't receive it. After that, they left. On their way, Desmond and his friend couldn't stop talking about her food. They decided it would become their favorite spot. Back at home, Tracy welcomed Desmond and told him she had prepared something special for dinner. But to his disappointment, it was a meal he didn't like. Guess what she made? Grilled lobster with wine sauce. Desmond politely declined dinner that night. That same night, Elizabeth received the money Desmond had sent earlier. She decided to call him to confirm the payment and also to hear his voice again. The following day, Desmond was seen coming out of Elizabeth's canteen, heading straight to his car after paying her. He gave her more money than his actual bill. Elizabeth was so thankful as she watched him drive away, while Boy Yo-Yo came out, mocking her sarcastically. Later that evening, Desmond got home. Tracy welcomed him and told him she prepared crusty bread with chicken curry sauce. You should have seen his facial expression when she mentioned that. Still, he pretended to like it and went to freshen up. Moments later, as he sat at the dining table, he tasted the food but couldn't eat it. Upset, he left the table and went to his room, where he called Elizabeth to ask about her opening time so he could come eat at her canteen the next day. The next morning, Elizabeth dressed beautifully, waiting for Desmond. When he arrived, she welcomed him warmly, and Desmond complimented her looks. He placed his order, and after eating, his bill was $5,000. But he surprised her by transferring $30,000 instead. Elizabeth was shocked and grateful. The next day, Desmond returned to Elizabeth's canteen again to eat. Days later, Desmond and Tracy went jogging together, having fun and laughing along the way. When they got home, Tracy served him food, and they ate together while chatting. Afterward, Desmond excused himself and went inside to call Elizabeth. He pleaded with her to help him prepare white rice and turkey, even though she didn't open her canteen on Saturdays. Elizabeth agreed. Later that day, Desmond arrived at Elizabeth's house. He complimented her again as she packed the food for him, but instead of taking it home, he decided to eat there. They chatted about her business and her dream to expand. After eating, she packed some for him to take home. When Desmond asked for the bill, Elizabeth told him not to worry. He could pay whenever he had it, since it was just $12,500. As Desmond left, Elizabeth danced with joy, but suddenly her phone beeped. She had received a $100,000 alert from Desmond. Shocked, she quickly called to thank him. That same day, Tracy found out Desmond had gone out to buy food elsewhere. They argued, and Desmond finally poured out his mind, expressing his frustration about her cooking and attitude. The next day, Desmond met his friend and shared everything that was going on. His friend listened carefully and advised him to try something different with Tracy before things got out of hand. But will Desmond take his friend's advice, or will Elizabeth finally win his heart completely? The following day, Desmond came back home, but Tracy tried to avoid him. He called her back and apologized for going out to eat another woman's food. They both reconciled their differences, and Tracy decided to prepare bitter leaf soup for him the next day. The next day, Tracy was in the kitchen trying to prepare the bitter leaf soup she promised Desmond, but she couldn't continue. She got irritated by one of the ingredients and rushed out to call her friend. Over the phone, she complained about it, and her friend advised her to take good care of her man. She also referred Tracy to someone who could cook for her, suggesting that she pretend she made the food herself. Tracy loved the idea, and after chatting for a while, they ended the call. Later that day, Tracy brought the cook to her house. Wow, guys, it's Elizabeth. Unknown to Tracy, this was the same lady Desmond had been buying food from. Tracy gave Elizabeth instructions on what to cook, and Elizabeth followed every detail carefully. Hours later, Desmond came home and saw the table set with food. Tracy welcomed him warmly, telling him she prepared the meal. Joy filled Desmond's heart as he was excited to finally eat a proper homemade meal. But as he tasted it, he felt something strange. The food tasted familiar, just like Elizabeth's cooking. Still, he smiled and praised Tracy, making her very happy. The next day, Desmond met with his friend and told him how much he enjoyed the meal Tracy made. They laughed and chatted about it. The following day, at Elizabeth's canteen, she was seen arguing with Boy Yo-Yo, trying to make him pay his bills. But he distracted everyone by talking about a bet he had placed, hoping to win 2 million naira. While that was going on, Desmond walked in. Immediately, Elizabeth let Boy Yo-Yo go and attended to Desmond instead. That evening, Desmond returned home from work looking tired. Tracy, feeling concerned, asked what was wrong. Desmond explained that it was work stress, but instead of comforting him, Tracy started complaining about his job, something Desmond didn't like. Moments later, he asked her to prepare catfish pepper soup with unripe plantain, but she couldn't do it. They argued again until Desmond told her not to bother and went inside. He immediately called Elizabeth, telling her what he wanted. Elizabeth agreed to make it and promised to inform him when it was ready. An hour later, Desmond got dressed to go out. Tracy, who was in the living room, asked where he was heading. She also demanded money from him, even though he had given her 1 million naira a week earlier for upkeep. She insisted until he reluctantly gave her some, even though he wasn't happy about it. Then he left. When Desmond arrived at Elizabeth's house, she served him the food he requested. They chatted pleasantly, and after eating, he left for home. The next day, Tracy called Elizabeth again to come cook for her. This time, while Elizabeth was busy in the kitchen, Tracy relaxed in the living room watching TV and drinking. Suddenly, Desmond came in unannounced. He had forgotten something and came back to get it. Panicking, Tracy rushed to the kitchen and told Elizabeth to hide while she pretended to be cooking. Desmond was surprised to see her busy in the kitchen since he had just seen her relaxing moments earlier. Still, she lied to him, and he left without suspecting much. Elizabeth came out, shocked after hearing Desmond's voice. That was when she finally realized the man she had a crush on was Tracy's fiancé. She warned herself to stay away from another woman's man. But can Elizabeth really stay away from him after all the emotions already involved? Later that evening, Desmond and his friend were frustrated because a construction job they were handling had been ruined by the builders. He was furious, knowing he would need 60 million to rebuild it. When he got home that night, Tracy was busy ordering a Chui 10 million cake for their wedding. Desmond tried to explain his situation, but she didn't care or even try to understand what he was going through. They argued again, and Desmond left the room. Tracy followed him, and the argument continued until he finally walked out to clear his head. Moments later, Elizabeth received a call from Desmond saying he was outside her house. Shocked, she went out to meet him. They sat in his car as Desmond opened up to her about everything. To his surprise, Elizabeth offered to help him with SOAR 6.7 million. Desmond was amazed but couldn't bring himself to take the money. He thanked her sincerely before they parted ways, just as Tracy called him on the phone. The following morning, Desmond was about to leave for work. He saw food already served on the table, but ignored it and left without saying a word. Tracy stood there, shocked and speechless, before quietly clearing the food away. That same day at Elizabeth's shop, Boy Yo-Yo came in singing loudly and acting silly. Elizabeth and Eno stared at him as he demanded food, but this time Elizabeth refused to serve him. Then he noticed the light bulb in the shop was bad, and surprisingly, he offered to fix it. Elizabeth was shocked. She didn't even know when Boy Yo-Yo became an electrician. Still, she decided to give him a chance. That night, Desmond was with his friend again, talking about Tracy's reckless behavior, especially how she wanted to spend $10 million on just a cake. He also talked about Elizabeth, describing her as a calm, kind woman who even offered him money. Hearing all this, his friend advised him to talk to Tracy again and try to fix their relationship, this time without bringing food into the conversation. The next day, Desmond sat Tracy down and poured out his mind. He discussed with her about cutting down unnecessary expenses for the wedding, which she finally agreed to do. Thereafter, he brought up the idea of getting a chef who would handle the cooking and cleaning for them at least once a week. Tracy didn't like the idea at first, but she decided to think about it. That night, they were both in bed, having a nice time chatting when Desmond suggested they do something romantic, cooking together. At first, Tracy agreed, but when Desmond told her to prepare jollof rice while he made soup, she suddenly changed her mind, giving unnecessary excuses. This led to an argument, and she got upset. The following evening, Desmond and his friend were heading somewhere as he discussed with him about his concerns regarding Tracy. He told his friend that he planned to set a camera in the kitchen to know if Tracy was truly the one cooking their meals because he needed clarity on what was going on. The next morning, while Desmond was preparing to go to work, Tracy came in. He decided to talk to her and apologized for their previous argument. They reconciled, and Desmond asked her to prepare oha soup for him. Tracy agreed, but also demanded the wig he had promised to buy for her, which cost $1.2 million. Desmond agreed to send the money once he got to the office. Excited, Tracy hugged him and saw him off. Later that day, Tracy brought Elizabeth to the house again to cook, but this time, Desmond had already set cameras in the kitchen. While sitting in his car, he saw who was actually cooking, and he was deeply disappointed. When he got home, Tracy tried to welcome him, but he immediately showed her the video. She couldn't cover up her lies anymore and began to apologize. Desmond, already hurt, told her he needed space and walked out while she followed, pleading with him. A week later, Elizabeth noticed that Desmond had not visited her canteen or called her. She decided to call him, but he didn't pick up. That same day, Desmond came home, calling Tracy's name several times before realizing she had left. The next day, Desmond was with his friend, telling him how much he missed Tracy but couldn't forgive her. Elizabeth also knew about it, but kept it to herself. They talked for a while before parting ways. 2 days later, at Elizabeth's canteen, while she was serving customers, Boy Yo-Yo walked in as usual, demanding food without paying. Elizabeth got angry and argued with him. During that moment, Desmond walked in, surprising her. He asked to see her outside, and she joined him shortly after. Desmond asked her to tell him the truth, and since Elizabeth knew he was already aware of her involvement in cooking at his house, she couldn't lie anymore. She told him everything and apologized sincerely. After talking, Desmond asked Elizabeth to teach him how to cook. Shocked, Elizabeth asked if it was for him or Tracy, but Desmond explained that Tracy no longer lived with him. The next day, Elizabeth arrived at Desmond's house, ready to teach him how to cook. As days passed, she continued training him until one day, Desmond cooked a full meal all by himself. Elizabeth tasted it and was impressed, calling him a fast learner. She then pleaded with him to forgive Tracy, reminding him that it's better to fix things with someone you already know than to start over with someone new. She added that love is never complete without forgiveness. 2 days later, Desmond invited Tracy over. They talked, forgave each other, and promised to always support one another. Tracy also apologized sincerely and promised to do better. Moving on, Desmond and Tracy went to the market together to buy ingredients for cooking, and as days went by, their love grew stronger. A week later, Elizabeth visited Desmond's house. She shared her happiness over their reconciliation and was genuinely glad for them. Desmond then told her that his company would handle the construction of the restaurant she had always dreamed of owning. In addition, he gave her $10 million to expand her business. Elizabeth was overwhelmed with joy and appreciated them with excitement. 2 years later, Elizabeth had become the CEO of a big restaurant. Guess what, guys? Boy Yo-Yo walked in, dressed elegantly and looking completely transformed. Elizabeth was shocked to see how handsome and successful he had become. He told her that the Kodo 2 million bet he mentioned years ago was what he actually won, and that God had completely changed his life. The moral lesson of this movie is, forgiveness heals the heart and strengthens love. Pretending in a relationship only causes pain, but honesty builds trust. Also, never underestimate anyone. Life can turn around for people in ways you least expect. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment your thoughts, and of course, subscribe to this channel for more captivating movies from us. Bye!